Welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us. So last night, we had the opportunity, myself and JD, to catch the season opener, UNLV Hoops. It was at the Thomas & Mack Center last night. Didn't play a very good team. Right, JD? It was not Purdue. It was another Purdue.
It was IPFW.
Yes.
Purdue Fort Wayne was the actual team.
So I will say this. Let's start with we'll do positives and negatives. Let's start with the positive. First of all, T.J. Otzelberger is actually a basketball coach. Marvin Menzies is not a basketball coach. That's just my opinion.
He's a salesman.
Right, exactly. T.J. actually runs an offense, and I was impressed with the fact of how they share the basketball. Keep in mind, they played a terrible opponent. I give them credit, though, for taking care of business against a bad opponent. But what I like so far, the positives, first of all, is that I think this team is actually going to gel. I think the chemistry is going to get better. I think it is there. They have some guys that can shoot. Kid from Australia is very, very good. He's got a beautiful stroke. And I think they have a pretty good base there to compete in the Mountain West. I like T.J. Otzelberger's offense. That's what he was known for at South Dakota State, a free-flowing offense, but taking good shots, moving the basketball. They had a lot of open looks yesterday. Part of that isn't due to the fact the team they were playing terrible defensively. But with that being said, this is a basketball coach that runs a fun offense to watch for the fans, and I think it's also fun for the players, but it's organized. You know, they move the ball. You rarely see anything one-on-one. You know, I remember last year it was like Amari Hardy one-on-one. Everybody else tried to get out of the way. That's not how you run an offense.
Yeah. If it is one-on-one, it's not isolation. It's a fast break.
So you agree with me. It was nice to see that they have a free-flowing offense where they share the basketball.
A lot of good ball movement.
And he puts players in positions where they're going to succeed.
He does.
Right? So I appreciate that about him. And I know they work a lot defensively. And we had David Jenkins on the show, who's a transfer, who's going to be eligible next year. And he said, 80% of their practices, they're working on defensive intensity, defensive schemes, that sort of thing. And I believe him. And TJ mentioned that yesterday. But I still have my doubts. I don't know how good this team is defensively. That is one of my – and I think we're going to find out here in the next couple weeks because their schedule is not easy, even though they're really not playing a lot of top-level teams. But Kansas State is known as a top 50 team, so we'll see how that plays out this weekend. But, again, some positives there besides the fact that T.J. Otzelberger has gone out in the community. I think he's done a fantastic job. I actually think T.J. is a pretty smart guy, too. He knows what he's doing. He runs a good offense. So those are the positives there. And those are a lot of positives, by the way. I haven't said a lot of positive things about UNLV basketball in a very long time.
That's not true, Brian.
Yes, it is. What positive have I said about UNLV before T.J. Otzelberger? What have I said since you've done a show with me? Did I say anything positive about this UNLV team last year? What did I say? Name me one positive thing I said under Marvin Menzies.
I believe you said it was a positive that Marvin Menzies would not be the coach at UNLV next year.
That is true. That is kind of a negative to a positive.
It's like a masked. Okay. It's like a masked positive.
I'll give you that one.
But I'm going to still call it a positive because clearly after last night, it is a positive.
I'll give you that one. It is a positive. But then again, when you go from Marvin Menzies to anybody, it's most likely going to be a positive. But
at this point, I tend to agree.
Yeah. But with that being said, another one of my concerns is their point guard. Kid who transferred from Texas, who's only averaged a few points a game, a few assists a game. He is their starting point guard. And listen, I know that Amari Hardy is going to play a lot of the one. But this kid struggles offensively. In fact, what I saw from him yesterday alone, and I'm not just judging by one game, I watched some film on him. He is not the kind of guy that likes to shoot the basketball. And when you run this type of offense, your guard at times has to be able to score. And he's not a scorer, and I don't think he has a lot of confidence. He's not a very good shooter. Is he decent with the basketball? Yes, he's decent, but I think you're going to see a lot of teams that are going to be pressing full court against UNLV because I don't think they're great with the basketball. I don't think he's great with the basketball, and it puts a lot of pressure on Amari Hardy. I really look forward to next year when it's Amari Hardy and Jenkins in the backcourt because that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. But this kid at the one is a concern, and my other concern is defensively. Jong, a guy like that, he has gotten a lot. He played a hell of a game yesterday, by the way. He was fantastic, right? He had a double-double. What did he have, 17 points and 17 rebounds? Wasn't it something like that?
Yeah, 17, 16, and 5.
Yeah. So he had
16, 17, and 5.
Right. So he had a fantastic game, but I'm sorry, but that's just not going to happen. When he's playing a physical type player in the Mountain West Conference, I think they're going to have issues in the paint. Because I don't think they're as big as they need to be physically. I'm not talking about height. I'm just talking about physical. And what we know about the Mountain West Conference, it is a physical conference. So, yes, I have concerns defensively with this team and at their guard position. But what I will say again is that I like their offense. I think TJ specializes in that. And I think this is a positive. And I think the game yesterday was a positive. I like TJ Otzelberger. He's a likable guy. And listen, I go back and I'll say it again, and I hope I'm wrong on this one. I think there were better hires out there. I'm not afraid to say that. I always going to speak my mind on this show. Mike Miller is a name that comes to mind. I could think of other players that other coaches that come to mind. However, that decision has already been made, and that's why I don't like talking about that now. That decision has been made, but when they hired Dave Rice, even in year one, even in the first few weeks of the season when they beat the number one team in the country, North Carolina, I said, you know what? That's fine. They have a lot of talent. I don't think Dave Rice knows what he's doing as a head coach. I don't think he's a good leader. I don't think this is going to work out. I was right. There was nobody else in this town that said that, especially after they beat the number one team in the country. Dave Rice is not a leader. He is a great assistant coach, not a good head coach. I said that wasn't going to work out. When they hired Marvin Menzies, I thought it was a joke. First of all, he was like the 6th or 7th guy on the list. If Mick Cronin was coaching this team, which we all thought he would have, that would have been a phenomenal hire. He's going to do a good job at UCLA because I think he's a very good coach. That would have been a good hire. Marvin Menzies was a bad hire. Dave Rice started the tumble downward, and Marvin Menzies made it worse. I do believe that the start of the upward spiral, I guess you could say, so to speak, for lack of a better term, starts with T.J. Otzelberger. I think he's going to get this team out of the gutter. I think they're going to get better, and I actually do think he will succeed here at UNLV. I have not said that in a long time about Dave Rice or Marvin Menzies since the Lon Kruger days. And I think the fact that T.J. Otzelberger has a great staff, including Kevin Kruger, Lon's son, who played here at UNLV, and I've heard a lot of good things about some of these other assistants. I think he has a really good staff. I think they have a good coaching staff put together. I think they have some decent players that can make them competitive this year. So, JD, that is my assessment of UNLV, not only of the game last night, but just as how I think this UNLV season is going to pan out. What do you say?
Well, Brian, that was about 7.5 minutes long.
About 3 minutes.
I'll see if I can. I'll see if I can do 20 minutes now. No, I'm totally kidding. I think that T.J. Otzelberger is a smart guy. I don't think he's trying to create an impression that he is something that he isn't. I don't think he's going to make excuses for the team. Even after the game in the press conference, he said, and I quote, I understand that a lot of the fans, we have to earn their respect. We have to make them want to come to these games, and I think that you guys should jump on the bandwagon early, and I tend to agree. Now, Jonah Antonio, the 6'5" guard from Australia, who's probably got one of the best strokes in America, did say that he believes that the UNLV starting 5 can be put up against anybody in America. That's probably a bit over the top, but I thought Jong was a force inside. And I think he'll continue to be a force. Now, against Kansas State, he's going to play against a guy named McCall Maween, who's probably a top 2 or 3 big man in the Big 12, which is a much better conference than the Mountain West Conference. So he's going to have problems against him, but it's good to face a guy like that. I do think that there's not going to be too many big guys, except I think he'll match up well against Neemias Queta too of Utah State, but there's not going to be a lot of guys in the Mountain West that Jong's going to have a problem matching up with, and I don't see this team getting blown out by anybody. I think they're going to be in pretty much every single game. Yeah, Mitru Long's not a great guard offensively. His shot isn't consistent. He doesn't like to shoot, but he's fast. And one thing about Noah Robotham last year was slow. He was extremely slow. He wasn't quick.
He's better. This kid's better than Robotham.
He wasn't quick defensively. Mitru Long is quick defensively, and he can run the break with some speed. And that wasn't the case with the team last year. I think that Mitru Long is going to be a much better defender on the ball than anyone the UNLV's had in a couple of years.
I did not say that. I thought Robotham was a better player. No, I would never say that.
When did
this
I say
kid's
that?
better than.
I never said that.
Well, let me just say for the record, I think this kid's better than the Robotham.
Well, yeah, of course.
He's better.
When did I? Yeah, you're just interrupting me for no reason right now.
No, I thought that's what you were inferring.
No. Okay. I'm just saying compared to Robotham last year, who couldn't play any defense and who wasn't quick.
He's terrible.
He's fast and he's quick, and I think he's gonna run the break really well and D up the one with consistency. The team they're going to score a lot of points. They don't have a lot of depth. My biggest issue with the team is they only go about 7 deep. Dembele played a little bit. When John comes out of the game, if John gets in foul trouble, this team could get blown out. But if John doesn't get in foul trouble and Dembele doesn't have to play a lot, they're going to be in every single game.
I don't think they're very deep.
No, they're not. They go 7 deep, probably at the max. But I think that they're going to win. And I said 18 and 13. That sounds about right. Maybe as high as 19 or 20. But again, the last year with Menzies, in 2 years, Menzies or in 3 years, Menzies lost like 12 games by 17 or more points. I don't see this team losing by 10 or 15 points more than once a year for the next couple of years, and it's going to be against really good competition. Again, now that could happen if, say, Kansas State or a team with a big man gets Jong in foul trouble early. That could affect the squad. But again, Hardy can score, Antonio can score, Nick Blair can score a little bit, and Donnie Tillman is a plus athlete. They didn't have that last year. So I think this team is worth watching.
We're going to learn a lot more about this team in the next couple weeks, and Kansas State comes to town this weekend. Even though they lost a lot of players, it still will be a good test for UNLV, and we will continue to cover this team. We have a lot of fun doing it, and we hope that T.J. Otzelberger succeeds. I really hope he does. And that's more than I could say for Marvin Menzies when he was here. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, man, this is going to be a lot of fun. He is a Detroit Lions legend. Former NFL player Herman Moore will be joining us next. Take a break. Be back after this.